Okay, hello and welcome to another episode of Grief Unedited. This is a space where we have real, honest, and raw conversations about grief and loss. I'm your host, Karen Lafferty, and I'm an accredited counsellor specialising in grief. And I've worked with people for over a decade now, helping them to navigate their journey of loss. If you do want to connect with me, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and both of those are at Continuum Counselling, or you can find me on my website, which is also www.continuumcounselling.com. Now, the podcast is purely for educational purposes, and any views that are expressed within it are my own, so they're not representative of any of the third parties that I work on behalf of or alongside. And I always give a bit of a content warning before we get into each episode, purely because we know that the conversations we have in this podcast are real, they are unedited. And by the nature of that, it can sometimes feel quite overwhelming, or we can be talking about very sensitive topics. So just use your own wisdom when you're listening. And if there's anything in today's episode that feels unhelpful in any way, then that's okay. You're welcome to take a pause and come back to it as and when you feel you want to. Now, today's episode is one that I am really looking forward to because I think this is going to be a really powerful episode. And I wanted to introduce, or I'm going to let my guest Helena introduce herself in a moment, but I wanted to just kind of introduce the topic that we're going to cover today. Now, today's podcast episode is going to be released just in advance of Baby Loss Awareness Week. So we'll come back to it in a little second or two. But if it's all right, Helena, can I give the floor to you and let you just introduce yourself initially before we dive into our topic today?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here, of course, and thank you for creating this space and doing it so beautifully as well. My name is Helena Morais, and I am a mother. I am a mother of two. But my first experience of motherhood was unfortunately being a mother to a baby who was stillborn. And that has sort of spearheaded everything that I have become now. I mean, I think being a mother changes you. We all know this, and you become a different person entirely. And I have absolutely become a different person being a mother to a baby who was born without life.
Mm,
And so, yes, I've had to. I was speaking with a friend actually quite recently, and I was just saying it humbles you. Like,
mm,
it really feels like life just said, sit back down,
okay.
no nothing. And yeah, this has been my life. I'm gonna go on to my third year. She was born on the 29th of December. So each day is new.
Mm,
A new feeling, a new thing. Yeah.
yeah. And I suppose I want to give you your credit in your place because I know that you are an award-winning baby loss activist, so this isn't a side hobby, this is something that really is your passion now, and you speak about it so eloquently. And I think when I've heard you speaking about your experience, I think one thing that always really stands out to me is just how honest you are. And I personally really appreciate that because I think within the world of baby loss as well, there's lots of people talking about it, but still not enough. There's been lots of progress in the time that I've worked in this area, but it's still not enough. And I think every now and again there's somebody that comes along that really just stops me in my tracks, and the content that you produce and how you talk about your loss. Yeah, you're absolutely one of those people that's just made me stop and go, wow, like I've learned from you, I've learned from your experience, and I think there's probably a lot of people out there that will be thinking the same thing.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. I think really and truly it's just permitting myself to continue to mother my daughter, which is something that a lot of parents feel guilty to still be able to do, feel ashamed to do. We are forced not to do, and that's why there's so much silence around it. I mean, we're already struggling and fighting with the grief of losing a child, and now we have to fight with the grief of not even being able to talk, A, about what happened to you. And then about the baby who you've lost, who was a human being.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, my mission really is humanizing stillbirth. And when a thought that came to my head when I ran the London Marathon last year was this: if everyone knows my daughter's name and doesn't know my name, I will be good. Like that's what I'd
Mm,
rather do, right? So
beautiful.
when I ran the marathon, I just wrote Mila's mum, and people were shouting Mila's mum, and I was like, oh my gosh, like random people know my daughter's name, and that's what it is about. More than anything, it's not even about me, actually, it's beyond me. It's about my daughter, and it's about the other babies and the other parents who have experienced this and are at a total loss.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, does it feel okay to introduce us to Maila? Tell us a bit about her story. Yeah, fill us in on the journey that you've been on.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mila was my first pregnancy, and her name was chosen way before like me and her dad decided that we wanted to have children.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, he's Brazilian and he loves Bob Marley. Actually, in Brazil, they listen to a lot of like reggae music, like old reggae. And for him, somehow the word Mali sounded like Myla. So we were just having this conversation, and he was like, yeah, if I ever have a girl, the name is Myla. And I was like, yes, that is a good name. It was immediate, like there was no questions
Nice.
asked. And then her name is Myla Angela. And Angela is my cousin, who is my best friend. And it was so fitting that her name was Maila Angela because it also sounded like Maya Angelou, who
Mm,
I love. Like, I love that woman. And coincidentally, lo yesterday was the day that she passed away,
oh,
in 2017, if I'm wrong. Can't remember. Um, but yeah, Maya Angelou is sensational. So I was like, I want to give a name to a baby who I think is going to grow up to be a phenomenal woman as well.
wow.
And you know, as you do, like when you're preparing for a baby, you plan loads of different things. And me being a Black woman, one of the main things that I was preparing for was the books that I wanted her to read so that she would have self-love.
Mm,
Because I grew up kind of hating myself, particularly like throughout primary school and secondary school, because I never saw beauty in myself reflected back to me. Yes, your parents will be like, oh, you're beautiful, but that
yeah.
doesn't mean anything, right? Well, it does, but it doesn't when you're a kid. And you sort of, as a Black woman, you sort of have to grow up trying to fight that until you get to a spot where you believe that you are beautiful. So I was like, this is going to be my one chance to make sure that my daughter knows that from the beginning. She's going to love the darkness of her skin. She's going to love her hair texture, all these things. So I remember when I was pregnant with her, I started a TikTok and it was just like funny videos about hair. And one of the videos was I was heavily pregnant and I had that Beyonce song, you know, the countdown song where she's like, uh,
Yep.
yeah, I'm not gonna sing it. But I did like a whole video about the countdown song, and then I was showing like all the books that I'm going to read her. And like those are such key moments that now I hold on to. And I think it's so important for parents to remember those things because once you experience that loss, everything connected to your baby just becomes the trauma. And so
Yeah.
last year I really worked on, okay, what are the memories of joy that I had? I had a beautiful baby shower. It was amazing. We played such incredible games. Everyone wore brown. I thought I was having a boy, and then it turned out she was a girl, and I was like,
Yeah, okay.
I was like, no way, it's the girl, because she moved so much, and I was like, why does she move so much? She must be a boy. That's such a weird thing to even think that just because she moves a lot, she's a boy. But it was a very healthy pregnancy, Karen. Like there was no issues that I knew of. And I made sure that I did the hypnobirthing classes. I made sure that I went to the antenatal classes. I made sure that I was reading things. And, you know, all my trust was in the healthcare professional. So I was like, if they are not telling me that there's anything to be worried about, then surely there is nothing to be worried about. The thing about Mila's death is that it was very preventable. That's one of the things that really kind of pisses me off a little bit because
Mm,
I think people say, yeah, it's one of those things. Sometimes these things happen. Yes, I understand that, you know, things do go wrong and eventually we're all going to die anyway, right? We can't avoid death.
yeah.
But if there's a preventability to like giving a baby a bit more time or a human being, like not human being, an adult more time, we're going to do that.
Mm,
So I had protein in my urine at 10 weeks. And I remember again, I was with my cousin Angela, who is Mila's godmother. And I showed her the text message that I received from my hospital saying that I've got protein in my urine. And I said to her, what the hell does that mean?
mm,
there was no, it didn't tell you what protein meant. So then I went on Google, as you do, and I was so confused at the things that I was reading, so I just kind of like left it. And then I made sure to ask the question in my next appointment. I asked about 3 different times, what does this mean? At no point did anyone tell me what it meant. 3 different times at 3 different occasions. And they said, oh, just keep testing. So in my head, and I always say this, like, does protein mean like meat? Am I eating too much meat?
Mm,
Is that what
mhm,
this is? Like,
yeah.
that's all I could go with. So then again, the pregnancy was absolutely fine. And then eventually the protein stopped showing up. However, when I was 36 weeks and 5 days, I go into labor. Now, again, I've done all the courses, and all I know in my head is that to be sure that you're in labor, your belly goes hard, and obviously you're feeling the contractions. So I go and do the things that I'm supposed to do. I'm doing the yoga, I'm listening to my meditation. Like, I'm so prepared. At no point did I notice that 36 weeks and 5 days is considered premature. I didn't know this.
Okay.
And so I should have called immediately. That's what, I learn now. I should have called immediately. And actually, the night before, Mila was moving erratically. And actually, I told my husband, I was like, why is she moving so much? Like, she must be excited. Things like
Mm,
that. Like, some, especially new parents, like, you don't know what you don't know.
yeah.
And I didn't realize just how much I should be noticing her movement patterns and what it means. Like, if she doesn't move like that often, then something is wrong.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm in labor. Again, I'm not noticing whether she's moving or not because the only thing in my head is that I've been told that your belly goes hard. I didn't know that baby was supposed to be moving or not. Honestly,
Okay.
I don't know. So eventually my waters break at home and I say, okay, we need to go to the hospital, obviously, because there's a chance of infection and now I'm not going to be able to do my water bath. So yay, let's go in. So we're driving. My husband's with speaking to my cousin Angela, and they're talking about what's the name gonna be. I mean, Mila was already the name, but then his name starts with the R, and there's a tradition in his family where everyone's name is an R. So
Mm,
then another name started coming up where it's like, is it gonna be Raina? Is it gonna be Rain? Is it gonna be Riley? So that's the conversation they're having whilst I'm having my contractions. And then, we are we're on the Uber and then we get to the hospital. I tell them, look, I'm 36 weeks, 5 days. I was told to come in. And well, I knew I had to come in anyway. And yeah, so they said, okay, wait. We waited about, it felt like 20 minutes. Then we go inside to to get checked to the triage. And then the lady, her name was Alice, she's like, she's got the Doppler trying to listen to Mila's heartbeat. It's just taken a long time.
mm,
But between the contractions and so much is happening, the thought of Mila dying was like right at the back of my head, but I was like, absolutely not. There is no way. I have gone through this entire pregnancy. I've been pregnant since April. It is now December. No.
mm,
Like she's due in 4 weeks. No, she's here, she's coming. So of course that's not gonna happen. So then she just says, oh, I can only seem to hear your heartbeat. So then I was like, okay. And she just said, I'm gonna call some doctors. And about 10 different people came in. It felt like 10, it was
oh,
probably
wow.
10.
Mm,
And my husband as well, like he's not really understanding. He's again, like I said, Brazilian. And at the time, he'd only been in the UK for 2 years. So his English wasn't amazing. So we get taken upstairs. I'm in the lift. They take us to the labor room ward and they get the ultrasound machine and everyone is quiet. And I'm just like, why is everyone quiet?
mm,
Where is my baby? Obviously, I knew my baby was inside, but I was just like, where is my baby?
what's going on?
And literally, that's when they break the news to me. They say, I'm sorry, but your baby didn't make it. And I just remember like my whole body just went so numb.
Mm,
And one of the first thoughts that came to my head was, of course, that would happen to me. Like I'm so unlucky. I'm not surprised. If it was going to happen to anyone, it was going to happen to me. My husband didn't read the room. I guess it was the excitement of everything or the nerves and all that stuff.
yeah.
So He's still on the phone. I mean, even if I was just giving birth to a living baby, why are you still on the phone? Well, he's on the phone, talking to my cousin, and then I had to like very stern, very cold, just say to him in Portuguese, the baby is dead.
Mm.
And all the emotion that I was so cold and so numb, he was portraying like he was on the floor. He was
God.
just so broken, so
Mm.
broken. And my cousin again on the phone, like, what do you mean? Like, what? Are
Mm.
you joking? Are you joking? And then, of course, everything just sort of unravels. And somehow my family's already there. And I have to give birth, which is something that I always have to remember to tell people because
Yeah,
I think people just think baby evaporates.
they don't know that. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I chose to stick to my birth plan. I wanted to have a vaginal birth. Like I was so prepared.
Mm.
And I had such a fear, not a massive fear, but I think most women are a little bit scared of like, oh, what's giving birth? Like that's painful. But I worked so hard on this hypnobirthing that I said, I'm going to eradicate any idea of pain. The word pain is not even in the vocabulary. It's surges that I was saying for contractions and stuff.
Mm.
And so, I said, no, I want to stick to the plan. My dad was like, no, give her a cesarean. I said, no, I want to have this moment with my daughter. I think at the time I didn't say it like that, but I just said I want to stick to the plan. And I just pushed and pushed and I followed the breathing and I gave birth to her. And honestly, it was the most incredible experience.
Mm.
And I was just so angry that I did all that. I went through all that for my baby to die.
Yeah,
What?
yeah,
Yeah, it was just, I still can't believe it.
yeah.
I still, it's surreal. It is. And I remember telling my mom, and I always say this, and I hate that I say this, but I said to her, I made a baby to put in the bin.
Mm.
Those were my
That's a bit
words.
felt.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that I think for me there's something really important as well in that idea of the lack of awareness and understanding that Joe Public has about what that process looks like. And I'm anticipating that even for your family, they probably didn't know what they were coming into. Do you know, you didn't know what you were about to go through either. So, I think sometimes there's that whole thing of shock and just complete disbelief of like, what? Hold on, like, we still have to do the delivery bit and
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's why my dad was like, no. And even the language, like this is something that we don't realize, but it has such a I mean, you don't realize in the moment, but it has such a big effect. And it kind of is the telling of how you are going to live out your grief for the rest of your life. And if you're not able to work around certain things, it can really get you stuck in the sense of like not being able to connect with your child, which is what I really believe in. Like I
yeah,
don't believe in let's bury the grief, let's no. So my dad was using language like take it out, take it out. I'm thinking, when did she become an it?
yeah,
And hearing that, I mean, I contested that with like, no, I want to give, birth vaginally. But hearing that, I was like, oh, okay, so she's not anything now. She's an it. And I think that's what made me sort of like disconnect from her. So I didn't want to see her. I didn't want to hold her. I thought I was going to look into a baby that looked like a zombie,
mm,
literally. Um, so much so that she was in the room with me. I mean, my midwife, she asked me a few times, do you want to see her? Like maybe twice she asked, and I kept saying no. And then when Mila was in the room with me, some parents will obviously have their baby next to them, but I don't know whose decision that was because I didn't choose that, but she was at the bot where my feet were, like she
mm.
had her cabinet that cabinet oh, I don't know what the word is.
Yep.
It is cabinet, isn't it? There. And like lots of family came actually. I feel like I forget to say this, which is really key. I was grateful for a lot of my family. They came. I have a really big family. So it's about like 20 to 30 people. I'm not even exaggerating.
Wow.
They all came and they looked at her and stuff and they were just like, but me, I couldn't do it. My mom held her. I was like, how can you hold her? My cousin, she was 18. She was touching her. I was like, how can you do that? I love that they did that because they were showing me without them realizing that you can do that.
That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think obviously I just really held on to the fact that she's an it. And so I was like, she stayed at the bottom of my feet there. And then eventually they took her away. And then I stayed 7 days in the hospital, left, went home, and without holding her at all,
Mm.
without spending any time, without parenting her. And those are such key, crucial moments because you're so limited. Like, that's the only time you have in this physical world. Whereas, like, if you have a family member who dies and they've got to live some time, you have those memories to bank on. I
Mm.
had nothing. I'm just grateful that I was told to join a Facebook group and I shared like, "Mums, I'm so lost, I don't know what to do." And an American mum came to my rescue and she was like, "Did you take pictures?" And I said, "No, why would I do that?" And then she was like, "That was the best thing I could have done." And again, I say I'm so lucky to live in a country that allows you to go back.
Mm.
Because I have heard some stories of like other countries where you don't, that's not even an option, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm grateful I was able to go back. And it was on my husband's birthday as well.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, it was a bit terrible. He didn't want to go. And then he was like, "No, I will go." It was a great moment for us, first time parents,
Mm.
the first time we're meeting our child.
Yeah.
Ugh, yeah.
Yeah. I wonder, like hearing you say that to me, I kind of wonder how much of that was an innate, like, protective mechanism almost of like I'm guessing, I'm imagining, but there's a part of you somewhere in there that knows you're not going to be able to love your daughter in the way that you would want to. And I kind of wonder, is that maybe a bit of, I don't want to hold her, I don't want to touch her, almost like I don't want to
Yeah.
get attached to her any more than I already have.
No, absolutely. It was definitely that. It was that, and there was the anger as well of like, how can
Mm,
I failed her actually? I felt angry, I felt guilty. It was my fault because like I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And I hated my body. Like, oh, I don't even know how I've come to a place where I don't hate it anymore. But if I tell you, it was just like the moment of like after I've given birth. And I think it was day 2 and I needed to go to the toilet. And everyone's helping me to get up. I go into the toilet and it's just me by myself. And there's a mirror. Oh my God.
mm,
Why was there a mirror in the toilet? I think that was the most horrific moment of just showing you how ugly your world has become. Of like, I saw my belly and it just felt again really numb. And I couldn't believe that that was my belly. And it still looked like there should be a baby there. I was so like, yeah, very detached. I just wanted to, squeeze it.
mm,
And then when I came, another moment as well, when I came home, my mum had to, which I think is what they do in hospital anyway, to put your uterus down, isn't it? They do that like massage.
yeah.
And so she was doing that. She gave me a bath. I was just crying so much. Obviously crying because of my daughter, but also crying at like, why are you touching my belly? Like my
Mm,
belly just didn't do what it was supposed to do. Like, yeah,
yeah.
definitely a defense mechanism that.
I guess that in itself though is a difficult thing for anybody outside of you to really truly appreciate, I guess, because I'm thinking even about your husband and like his space, his mentality at that time. It's like, gosh, you've carried this wee one for the best part of 9 months at this point, and then suddenly she's not there, and you're having to try and make sense of that and not, not having her to be able to hold. And
Yeah.
again, I think that's something that often when people haven't experienced it, haven't witnessed it firsthand, it's like, yeah, your body doesn't just like snap back to what it looked like before, it's like you still have to go through it. And I think that's one of the really
Yeah.
cruel things about pregnancy, loss of any type, is like the body doesn't know that you're not pregnant anymore. Do you know, you still have to deal with all the hormones, you still have to deal with your milk coming in. Do you know, it's all those things that, again, I think we're really hugely underprepared for.
You're so right. You're so right. Oh, there's so many things you said there that is just like so spot on. Like so there's a charity called Aching Arms, and I
Yeah,
feel like that phrase is exactly what it is.
yeah,
I just remember all the time. I mean, I never held at the point anyway, I hadn't held my baby, and neither had I held a baby as if it was my own baby. So how do I know what it's like to like hold a baby, right? But it really just there was like a weight of like I'm supposed to be hugging right now, but I can't. I
mm,
remember that, and I still feel it now. And like every till this day, every waking moment, it's the first thing I think about. And there's like a weird corner of my room where I just have this memory of like wanting, I don't know why I've placed it like in the corner of the room, of wanting to hug her. Um, it's like a massive chunk of your heart is missing, and you can feel that hole, and it's almost like you can the element, like if the wind was to pass through that hole, you can feel it. I'm not even, I feel like it sounds like an exaggeration, or
not
just
at
even
all.
like I'm not even saying that as a metaphor, like literally when like when you go out and then you're feeling the wind, you almost feel that coming through you because you just feel so empty. Um, yeah. There was another thing, there was about two other things you said I'm trying to remember. But I'll go on to like my husband and the way that his grief played out. Because immediately, like literally in that moment, you're told to be strong.
Mm,
In that moment, like you've just seen your partner giving birth to a baby who's dead, and in
yeah.
like I always forget I almost died as well. I lost so much blood, so much. I'm going to look at my I have asked for my notes back just so I can understand what actually happened to me because I forget. So if you were to ask me like how many liters of blood, I don't know.
Mm,
Um, but like you're dealing with someone who's like lost their child, almost lost their partner, and now has to like hold it all back. That's
yeah.
not normal. That's not normal. And then especially like different nuances about him, like didn't speak English 100%. His family, they don't live here, right? So they live in Brazil. Like all my family are here. My family, they came, they held me, they took care of me as they should, but they did the same to him, but not enough. Not enough. There were moments where I was looking and I was like, why are you not hugging him?
Yeah.
Why are you not doing that? And me, I was at a point where I was so weak anyway that I couldn't even say anything. Like I'm thinking these things, but I'm not saying it. I really wanted to scream. There was like a voice in my head. I was like, scream it.
Mm,
But I was so numb. And then, other things on top of that as well, like his birthday was coming up. The whole excitement around Mila's arrival was that she was going to be born in January. So, is she going to be born on his birthday? Is she going to be born on my mum's birthday? Is she going to be born on his mum's birthday? Or is she going to be born on Angela's birthday? There's literally like four people,
gosh. Right, okay.
four people there who are so big in the family that she would have been born on. Instead, she was born on my other cousin's birthday. And
Mm,
my cousin had even said, because we spent Christmas with that cousin, she was like, imagine if she's born on my birthday. I was like, no, that can't happen. That'd be too early. And then she did. And
mm,
my cousin was so devastated as well, obviously. But she's now got a tattoo of Maila on her leg
wow.
because it obviously touched her so much, right? But yeah, just having to bottle all that in. And I know he still cries, but has to hide that he's crying, even though I speak a lot about it and we do a lot of stuff. I think the best thing between us has been, even though we grieve differently, um, we have been able to hold space for our daughter. Like we speak about her at
Yeah.
home. If we go on holiday, we try to find things for her because I know there are families where that's not a thing,
Mm,
where it's like, oh, come on, you're still, let it go. She's with God. That's one of the
mm,
things that he said actually right at the start, right when we were still in hospital. He was like, oh, I've given her to God now. And for me, I was like, what do you mean? Like,
Mm.
what? This idea of God, like, I feel like sometimes people are enforced to think because God knows everything, God knows what's best, it should be fine, you should be okay. Just let it be. That is God's will. And I hate people, no one should say that to anyone in their grief
No,
ever.
no.
Because even if someone has the bestest relationship with God, it's really hard to just, it's fine, God has it. And people who don't believe in God, like that might further take it. I don't know. It's just,
Yeah. I think it undermines the sensation of loss that comes with grief, do you know, by going almost the other thing I often hear people are having said to people like is that thing of, well, they're in a better place now. And
mm,
every single client that I've worked with that has had that said to them automatically just wants to throat jab the other person because it's like, who says that? Like that doesn't bring
yeah,
any sort of comfort. But I suppose the way I've come to kind of understand it is that I think it's the other person's bid to try and make sense of something that just does not make sense. You know, it's like,
yeah,
I don't know why it's happened. I don't know how it's happened. I don't know if we could have done anything to do it differently. But, sometimes if we can bring God into the equation, it's like, oh, well, that makes it make sense all of a sudden. It's like, if
yeah.
that
That's
helps,
so
that helps.
That's so true. I think I just wish, and I think it's mostly like once someone has a really felt profound grief, then they start to realize.
Yeah.
But I wish we would just taught that like this is not fixable. Don't try and fix. This is the one thing in life that cannot be fixed. So if you don't have anything nice to say, show up with practical things.
Mm.
Just be honest and say, honestly, I don't know what to say, but I want to be with you. There's nothing you can say. Like we all know that.
Yeah, yeah, and I think for me, I do have that conversation with people about like you can't say anything that's going to make the situation better or worse. The situation is what the situation is, but what you can do is maybe offer practical help, like you know, take a load of washing away for the person, offer to walk their dog. If there's other kids in the scenario, pick them up from school, take them over some food shopping. It's like things like that often when we're in our grief, it's really hard to ask for help or to tell people what we need. So like offer the
Absolutely.
things that they're going to need to be doing or dealing with anyway.
Absolutely. And I think with like when someone's just given birth, I feel like people need to take the same steps you would have if the baby was living, in the sense that
Yes,
you're gonna go to their house anyway to visit the baby,
yes.
right? You're going to bring some sort of gift for the baby, for the mom. Still do that. Like I'm still gonna be going through postpartum anyway. Like I just don't have a baby to hold. Oh, that
Yeah.
was what you were saying. You were saying about the milk coming in
Mm,
and all the other things. I was lucky that they gave me a pill that actually worked, because some people it doesn't, and it cuts the milk.
mm,
However, what what I didn't say is that I had preeclampsia. I don't know if I said that.
mm,
I say I didn't. So that's what the protein was at 10 weeks. It sort of came back at 36 weeks and 5 days. Um, because I had preeclampsia, so high blood pressure. The day before, I had a headache that just wouldn't go away, and I had kind of been having those headaches throughout the pregnancy. I was already quite swollen, but I wasn't so swollen, but I was swollen. And yeah, my blood pressure was really high. And these are things that people need to be paying attention to, because preeclampsia is fatal. It is fatal for baby and for mom. Like, there's no two ways around it. If it's caught in time, that's what I was saying about it being preventable. There is stuff that can be done. I could have had aspirin throughout that entire pregnancy, and my baby would have been here. I
So
could,
say those symptoms again, just in case
yes,
somebody
of
did.
course.
So
So
high
the
blood pressure,
headache, high
headache.
blood pressure. So normal blood pressure is 120 over 90. When you are pregnant, it does tend to go a bit high to like 140. But even then, personally, like just if it's at 140 and more, be raising that. When I became pregnant the second time, I actually bought a blood pressure machine that I would use at home. And I know they will often say, oh, don't prescribe people things to have at home, da, da, da. Just do it. I don't care. Like it's better to have a baby in your arms, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so the high blood pressure, headaches that won't go away, swelling, sudden swelling that just happened out of nowhere. It's sudden and a lot. And sometimes these symptoms don't. you actually don't get to see them.
Mm.
Um, but the high blood pressure is definitely one of them. Blurry vision as well. Um, and I think those are the main ones. Those are the
I
main
think
ones.
that to me feels so helpful to just be really clear about that because I'm so conscious hearing you say each of those to me. I'm thinking, gosh, those are things that I can hear people kind of minimizing and going, oh, it's hormones that are causing the headaches or it's this, that, do you know? So it's like, yeah, actually when you take them one by one and look at them as something that isn't normal for you, then absolutely, yeah, get it checked out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It is fatal for the
Yeah.
mom. That's why, I mean, it's one of the leading causes for women in pregnancy, when they are dying, and fatal for the baby or both. Like both of them could die. So, yeah, my blood pressure on that day was so high. I don't remember the numbers, that it pushed my placenta out of where it was. So I had a placenta abruption.
Eruption.
And so that cut off the oxygen supply for Maila. That's why she was moving erratically the night before.
Okay.
And then without oxygen, obviously, it's
Yeah.
it's over. So yeah, preeclampsia is very, very dangerous. Black women get it a lot. And th this here's the thing, like in pregnancy, the education isn't really that good. I remember going to pregnancy being like, what am I supposed to, aren't people going to tell me things? So I had to get an app and I learned a lot of stuff from an app. But even then, the app said that preeclampsia was rare. So in my head, I was like, okay, that's not going to be me. Already discounted it without really taking it in. When really it should just be told to us, matter of fact, look, here are the things that you should know. And that's it. It doesn't have to be like, it's risky, it's this. Because a lot of people love to say, oh, it's fear mongering. But who cares really if it's fear mongering? Like, we should just know. Stop
Yeah.
making it seem like women are so weak that they just can't know
You
information.
can't tell them. Yeah. I think
Yeah,
though there's also something that I find I get in my soapbox about quite often that actually the information that women are given is often based on what a white woman's pregnancy would look like.
mm,
And we know about the huge inequalities around maternal care as well for,
yeah, yeah.
anybody of any other background that isn't just a white woman. And I think that's the part that for me, I'm like, if we don't tell people what they are more likely to encounter or how their pregnancy might be different to what they see in the books and the pamphlets, then we're failing people at every turn.
You're so right. That's the point. Like personalized care
Yep.
to everyone. It has to be personalized. Stop treating people low risk, high risk. Everyone should just be treated the same because you can be a yeah, so definitely needs to be personalized care, no low risk, high risk, none of that. Like everyone should just be treated like high risk, but don't say high risk because I know some people get a bit like,
Anxious and yeah.
yeah, and naturally so because it is a scary like it's new. Your body's going through so many different new things. But the point on preeclampsia as well is that when I took that pill to stop my milk, I only recently this month I went to a webinar that was talking about like what happens with your lactation after loss. Some mums, the milk, even with the pill or without it, still comes through
Yeah.
and like choose to donate their milk and things like that. Just talking about the different options that you have. And they mentioned that this pill is not advisable for someone who has just had preeclampsia.
Wow.
So the thing is, I feel like I probably would have still said I wanted the pill because I was in such a daze. But even after you've gone through everything, where is the consent? Like there
Yeah.
was a lot of stuff that was happening to me that there was no consent actually. For example, I was being forced to pee when I didn't want to pee and I wasn't ready to pee, and I had to shout at the lady to not force me to pee. And then eventually another doctor was like, yeah, you don't have to.
Mm.
Um, but like, why wasn't I told, look, I'm giving you this pill and this is what this could mean. At least you know. It was literally just like, take this.
Mm.
I'm not even exaggerating. It was pushed, and I was like, okay, everything was just happening very quickly. Um, but for the mums who experience the milk, it is horrible. It is so horrible. You know how it is like with milk coming through, how painful that is anyway. Painful not having your baby alleviate that and just having to sit with a machine or whatever, having to feel like your body's laughing at you, really.
Mm.
And then the other postpartum things that I felt was I had constipation, really bad constipation. And I cried so much, and I remember going to the GP so often because I was like, just make it stop. What can I do to make it
Mm,
stop? Because it honestly felt like I was giving birth again. That's how painful it was every time I had like any kind of bowel movement, but nothing was happening. I remember just being on all fours and just being like, why am I still having to go through this torture, physical torture, when I've already gone through the torture of like giving birth and my baby's not here? And
mm,
then the aftermath as well of, we were staying at a hotel at the time and at emergency temporary accommodation. And the lady that was a cleaner, she was Ukrainian, didn't speak English. She saw me pregnant. In fact, she was in the room when I was in labor,
mm.
vomiting. And she's like, oh, you'll be fine. She didn't speak properly, but the way she was like moving, it seemed like that's what she was saying. And then she comes back and she's like, where's the baby?
Oh,
And
sh-
having that conversation, and Karen, the way I told her, because she doesn't speak English, I just did that gesture of like,
mm,
oh, oh my God. And then looking at people's faces who have seen me pregnant and having to go to Aldi or Asda and passing the baby aisle,
yeah,
I cried every time and I had to have the headphones on. And like where we were living at the time, there's babies there. I'm hearing babies crying. That was torture,
mm,
torture. Like it took me a very long time to accept babies, just their sound.
yeah, yeah. And I think that to me is one of the things that you often hear people talking about is that want to just like shut themselves off from the world, like not to be around other people and how the brain suddenly makes everyone that you know pregnant. You know, everywhere you go, there's babies, there's prams, there's, mums everywhere. And it's just like it's that heightened sensitivity that you're holding in that moment that just makes it feel like, gosh, everywhere you turn is there's another person, another baby that's yeah.
Seeing puppies everywhere. Oh,
Yeah.
nightmare. And yeah, like the sentiment of wanting to shut off the world is so real to the point of like the first thing. I mean, when I had to get my blood transfusion, for example, or remove the amount of blood clots that I had, like I had so many. The doctor was really had to convince me to do that because
Mm,
I was like, no, I would rather die. Like, why are you guys trying to save me? My dad had to argue with me. My husband had to argue with me. I don't want to be here. Like, why
mm,
am I going to be here to live a life where the one thing that all women are supposed to do, because that's what you're told, isn't it? You don't even think about the chance of not being able to have babies or going for a pregnancy and losing your baby. So why should I have to live a life where my baby isn't here? Like, I'll be so happy to join her. And
mm,
so the doctor, he was Malaysian and he was obviously quite pale, like compared to me. And he sat down with me. He looked me dead in the eyes and he said, listen, he turned my hand around and he turned his hand and he said, if you look at my hand and I am paler than you, your hand is 10 times paler than mine. You need to let me not operate. You need to let
mm,
me remove the blood clots and, so you can get a blood transfusion. Oh, sometimes I'm like, why did you convince me, sir? But obviously, that moment was so hard. It was
yeah.
so um but now I've come to a place where, and this is what pushes me a lot with like everything I do, um, with like everything I do is if I was given the opportunity to continue, then I must continue her legacy. I'm the
Mm,
only one who can say her name, obviously my husband as well. And now my family, like I feel like everything I have done, um, my family has changed the way they speak. So my dad especially, like he didn't really want to talk about it. Oh, okay, forget it now was some of the things that he would say. Or like I made a photo album of Maila, and the cover of that photo album was her ultrasound picture. And I gifted it to my parents because I was like, oh, it's your granddaughter, It was that sort of feeling. Um, this was obviously after I saw her, like it changed
mm,
so much about like, oh, okay, this is my child. She just looked like a beautiful sleeping baby.
mm,
And so when I came home to see them, they had covered the ultrasound picture. And I was just like, I was so angry. I was like, okay, you guys
Mm,
don't deserve this. So I took the album back. I was very disappointed. I was very disappointed. I understand in the sense of like they're grieving as well. Like they are grieving. And it's difficult for, grandparents to see their first grandchild in that state and see their daughter living a life like this. So, yeah, but since I started doing like speaking on LinkedIn, speaking on Instagram, being very vocal, my dad follows and likes everything I do.
nice.
This last Christmas, he invited a friend over, and then all of a sudden, like, it was like the time to cheers or whatever. And he's like, let's cheers to the family. And one for Maila. I was like, what?
Oh,
Do you mean? I was very surprised with that because he doesn't, really, now he does, but he didn't at the time even speak about her or say her name. And then he was like, oh, did you tell my friend about, tell my friend about Maila. She's my granddaughter. Like he was saying that with pride.
bless him.
And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So it's really important. Like, I just wish so many more parents had that opportunity. It's so unfair that that's just
Mm,
taken away from so many of us. Um, I went to another event as well, and there were bereavement midwives there, and they were talking about this cultural clash. And that was the first time it was put into words, right? This idea of like the culture of like wanting to make memories of the baby, this idea of like continuing to parent your child, or at least in that crucial moment, which is what the bereavement midwives are supposed to encourage.
yeah.
Um, and like there are, African culture tends to be like, especially now, me, I don't know what it was like years and years before, but now it's like, let go. No, don't. You have to be strong. Move on. No, don't look at your baby. Don't take pictures. Don't.
Mm,
It's completely against that, right? And so the midwives were talking about how there are some families where, the parents are completely like, don't let my daughter see her baby. She shouldn't see her baby. It's not good. It's not, it's bad luck for her to see her baby. And the mum actually wants to see her child, of course.
yeah.
And they're talking about that cultural clash and having to, what do they do in that moment? The challenge that they have, there's so much that goes on, so much that goes on. And people, when they argue about, oh, why do you take pictures of a dead child or why are you showing a picture? They're not realizing what that really means. Like, you get to have a picture of your granddad who passed away. You get to have
Yeah.
many pictures. This is the only picture we have. This isn't just a picture of a dead person to have a picture of a dead person. Like,
Yeah.
if she lived longer, obviously, I'm not going to have that picture there. But this is the only thing we have.
Yeah. Yeah. I was so struck when you said about your parents covering up your scan picture of Mila that it just made me think, gosh, you would never do that with a picture of a living child, would you? You wouldn't ever,
Yeah.
put it in the corner, cover it up, put it away. It's like, I think for most parents that I've met anyway, you want to be able to parent your child just in the same way. You have the same worries as a parent of a living child, and that no parent wants their child to be forgotten about. No parent wants their child not to be included in things, especially around, significant events and things like that. So I think there is that really innate parental response of like you just want to care for your baby in whatever way you can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And I think the beauty of this generation, and I'm sure there must have been, parents who used to do this before, but this generation with the TikToks and the Instagram, whatever, people are so unapologetic, right?
Mm.
So you're just seeing a rise of mothers who are like, can I swear?
Yeah. Yep, go for it.
Fuck that. Like,
Yes.
I am going to parent my child
I
loudly.
need to
I
do
saw
it.
a TikTok of a mom who shared a picture of her son and she put like a blue heart over his face. And there was like thousands and thousands of comments being like, Mom, why did you cover your baby's face? Your baby deserves to be seen. You deserve to show your baby. And I was just, it's even giving me goosebumps now because there's that encouragement.
Yeah.
And it's so surreal to me that you would take that away from someone. Like, it even doesn't make sense to
Mm.
steal that away from someone to still be able to do what they want with their child and parent them how they like.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I
It's,
think what you said earlier on, though, was something that really struck a chord for me about the worry or the fear that you had about actually what was Maila going to look like? You know, was she going to look like a zombie? What was she actually going to look like? And I think that's the thing that for me we need to get better at talking about, sharing, because often if I'm working with somebody, you know, it's something I will ask is like, have you got a picture of your wee one that I can see? Like, would you mind sharing that with me? And the vast majority of them, no matter how preemie they are, like they're just beautiful little babies. And I think that's the thing that, you know, people in the outside world don't get to know that. They don't get to see that. So it comes with this fear or this apprehension of like, what are they going to look like? Is it going to be absolutely horrific? And it's like, no, they just look like a teeny gorgeous wee baby.
Literally, they're
Yeah.
just a baby. And honestly, when I went back to see her, I was like, oh, what was I so afraid of? Like,
Mm.
so beautiful. She had so much hair on her head,
Oh,
like long, little, lovely eyelashes. She was so long as well. Like, my
oh,
husband's quite tall, so I was
tall
thinking
girl.
she would have been tall, long fingers. She had my fingernails.
Oh,
Um, yeah, like I made that baby.
perfect.
I sang to her, and oh my gosh, yeah, I sang to her a song from The Lion King called Shadowland. It's from the musical that's in the West End. Sang, yeah, it was honestly a beautiful moment. Like I felt
Mm.
so proud to hold my daughter, like, and I didn't want to let her go. I didn't want to let her go. My mum came with us. She took pictures as well. She kissed her. Like my mum really looked after her, and she still does to this day. Like she comes to my house. I've got like Mila's corner in the house, and she always goes and touches Mila's ashes and
Mm.
greets her. And I've got a little light that has like Mila's picture as well. She greets that as well. Yeah, like she still parents her too. Yeah.
No, I've got goosebumps. We can't not talk about Mila's present, so tell us a wee bit about that before we finish up today. What is it? What do you do?
So Mila's present is basically personalized storybooks for babies gone too soon. And it's just giving parents that ability to have a visual representation of their baby. We don't get to have that. So a visual representation, and obviously books are a way to keep people alive. Like that is it's the oldest way to keep anyone alive. I studied Egyptology at university, and one of the things that was very key that they said is it's so important that you are writing the name of those who have passed away. Like it's actually an insult not to do that. That's
Mm,
literally what they would say in ancient Egypt, right?
interesting.
So I basically the idea came when I had my son, and naturally on Instagram you get like loads of ads being like, oh, like they know you have a baby, which is what happened when I had Mila, and I had to completely stop using Instagram. And it's kind of like was giving me loads of stuff about personalized storybooks. And I was like, oh, fine, might as well get it. He's got a name that is, not really common in the UK, and he's a little black boy. So I was like, this is the best way for him to be represented. He needs to see himself. As soon as I got that book and I was reading it to him, like I started getting so teary because I was like, I will never have this memory with my daughter.
Okay.
And that really broke me. And so immediately I went and contacted the company and I asked if they do books for, babies who passed away. Obviously, they said no, which I knew they would have said no anyway. And they kind of mentioned other books that could have worked. And then I said, in my mind, I was like, this isn't enough. It's not enough to just plaster her name in any book. Like, it
Mm,
has to be a book that acknowledges her story, that acknowledges her truth, the fact that she's gone, but allows her to be alive in this fairy tale world, allows me to like read this book to a family member, read it with a friend, so they can see that Amila existed. And I've been able to share this book with like so many families across like Canada, UK, US.
mm,
Portugal as well, which is where I'm from, and I'm even trying to do a version in Portuguese. I recently sent it to a cousin of mine in Brazil, and she was filled with emotion for it. Um, because it brings that comfort. It really does. Like, and for me, it's so important that maybe in 10, 20 years, someone might come across that book and know that a Mila existed somewhere
yeah.
at some point. That's literally what it is. And that's kind of where the idea started. But ever since then, I ended up writing a lot of stuff on Instagram and now on LinkedIn as well, and just being open about the truth of what it's like to be a bereaved parent, like the
Mm.
stuff that people don't get to see. And now it's kind of evolved into this mission that I have where my mission is to humanize stillbirth. Like literally that's what it is. Like for people to realize that those are still humans and they deserve to be remembered, they deserve to be spoken about just like anyone else. And to offer families like the ability to know that they can continue to parent their child if they so choose to. Because some people might be like, I don't want to. You don't have to. Um, but have that choice.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, and loads of ideas have surged since as well. Like I'm trying to work on something on prevention, but really like prevention from the side of someone who has experienced a loss, because I feel like a lot of the material that is out there is kind of wishy-washy, like it's not really giving what it really is like. And again, I'm not for the fear mongering, that's not what it is. So it's about giving information, matter of fact, and like just be informed. So
Mm,
that's sort of what I'm.
beautiful. Oh, before we finish up today, I have got no doubt that there'll be people who've been listening along that might want to connect with you off the back of this conversation. So, where do they find you? What platforms would you want people to connect with you on?
Yeah, so it'll be great to connect with me on Instagram because I use that a lot, and it's Maila's Present, which is spelled Mailas and present Present. LinkedIn as well, Helena Morais. That would be quite good. Yeah, I mean I'm on TikTok as well, but I feel like those are the two main spaces that I'm
Awesome.
using.
What we'll do as well is that in each episode there's some show notes that go along with it, so we'll make sure that we've got your details in there. So for anybody that's listening along and maybe didn't catch that, then yeah, just go to the show notes and you'll be able to click on the link and it'll take you directly to Helena's pages. The last thing I always say before I wrap up an episode is that if you've listened along with us today and you found the episode to be useful, it would mean the world if you can like it, share it, interact with it, maybe even leave us a review. That's how ultimately the episodes get out into the world and we can spread the word and hopefully help this to reach the people that needs it. And yeah, I just want to end today's episode by just saying a huge thank you for not only sharing your story and the journey that you've been on, Helena, but also by like sharing Maila with us as well, because I think it's such an important topic, and I don't doubt, as I say, that this is going to really touch some people in a way that I don't think there's many other people out there in the world that are talking just quite as candidly and openly about that experience of stillbirth. So thank you for yeah for being you. Thank you for sharing this with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Karen. Really appreciate you. You're incredible. Thank you.